Adventurous kids explore with education and learning what a wild life is in the Everglades. I want to explore the Museum of Discovering Science. What plants do butterflies like? I want to know about Key West. Adventurous kids, learning and fun. Adventurous kids!
Today I'm going to tell you about Groundhog Day and Groundhogs. Will the groundhog see its shadow? That is the question each year on February 2nd. Groundhog Day is the day when people look to the groundhog to predict the weather for the next 6 weeks. Folklore says that if the sun is shining when the groundhog comes out of his burrow, then the groundhog will go back into its burrow and we will have winter for 6 more weeks. However, if it's cloudy, then spring will come early that year. There are a number of celebrations throughout the United States. The largest celebration takes place in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, where the famous groundhog Punxsutawney Phil has predicted the weather each year since 1886. Large crowds of well over 10,000 people gather here to see Phil come out of his burrow at around 7:30 a.m. Other celebrations take place in towns such as Lilburn, Georgia, with their groundhog General Beauregard Lee, Staten Island, New York, with Staten Island Chuck, and Marion, Ohio, with Buckeye Chuck. In Alaska, they use a marmot and have a Marmot Day instead. There are even celebrations in Canada. The origins of Groundhog Day can be traced to German settlers in Pennsylvania. These settlers celebrated February 2nd as Candlemas Day. On this day, if the sun came out, then there would be 6 more weeks of wintry weather. At some point, people began to look to the groundhog to make this prediction. The earliest reference to the groundhog is an 1841 journal entry. In 1886, the Punxsutawney newspaper declared February 2nd as Groundhog Day and named the local groundhog as Punxsutawney Phil. Since then, the day and tradition has spread throughout the United States. Groundhogs are rodents and the largest member of the squirrel family. It is also called a woodchuck. Those squirrels are also known as marmots. The animal may also be called woodchuck or whistlepig. Groundhogs can be found in the eastern woodlands in the United States, in Canada, and as far west as parts of Alaska. The name woodchuck comes from a Native American word. In the Algonquin language, groundhogs were called wojak. European settlers pronounced it woodchuck. The name whistlepig comes from the shrill sound these animals make when warning each other of danger. Most woodchucks or groundhogs are about 20 inches long and weigh from 5 to 10 pounds. They can live up to 6 years. Their fur is brown, rough, and shaggy with flecks of white at their tips. Groundhogs can swim and are excellent tree climbers. They have very short legs and short, stubby tails. Groundhogs are omnivores, eating grasses, berries, vegetables, grasshoppers, insects, and snails. They sometimes climb trees to get fruit. Farmers do not like groundhogs because they eat their crops. Groundhogs are the major hole-digging animals. They can move over 700 pounds of dirt digging one burrow or den. Their curved front claws tear through the earth. Their flat heads push the dirt aside and their back feet toss the dirt behind them. Their sharp teeth chew through any tree or plant root that gets in the way. Each burrow has several tunnels leading to the surface. These tunnels can often reach 30 feet long and be as much as 6 feet below ground. Foxes, wolves, bobcats, coyotes, raccoons, and some large birds such as eagles, hawks, and owls hunt groundhogs. Usually, groundhogs breed in their second year, but a small proportion may breed in their first. The breeding season extends from early March to mid or late April after hibernation. A mated pair remains in the same den throughout the 31 to 32-day gestation period. As birth of the young approaches in April or May, the male leaves the den. One litter is produced annually, usually containing 2 to 6 blind, hairless, and helpless young. A baby groundhog is called a kit or cub. Groundhog mothers introduce their young to the wild once their fur is grown in and they can see. The new pups grow very rapidly and are weaned at about 5 weeks. They may move just a few yards away from the family setting and dig their own burrow at just 6 weeks old. By the time they are 2 months old, they have moved off and are completely on their own. In the winter, the groundhog hibernates in the deepest room in its burrow with only one entrance for safety. In most areas, groundhogs hibernate from October to March or April, but in more temperate areas, they may hibernate as little as 3 months. Groundhogs hibernate longer in northern latitudes than southern latitudes. During hibernation, all of the groundhog's body functions slow down. Their internal clock tells them when it is time to wake up. Like other groundhogs, Punxsutawney Phil hibernates during the winter. Right before February 2nd, Groundhog Day, Punxsutawney Phil is put in a burrow underneath the fake tree stump on the stage on top of Gobbler's Knob. The burrow is electrically heated. The heat wakes Punxsutawney Phil from his hibernation sleep in time to make his prediction. Punxsutawney Phil normally lives in a nice climate-controlled home in the local library throughout most of the year. Punxsutawney Phil was named after King Philip. Did the groundhog see its shadow on February 2nd of this year? Thanks for watching this Adventurous Kids episode.